My mother's death was described as sudden. That was the word everyone used. Sudden meant convenient. It meant there were no questions that lingered long enough to become uncomfortable. Aneurysm. Clean. Nothing to follow up on. But the thing about sudden deaths is that they leave behind a lot of unfinished thoughts. And my mother had always been full of those. She believed objects carried weight. Not sentimental weight, responsibility. She kept things long past the point of usefulness. Furniture with broken joints. Jewelry she never wore. Letters written in handwriting so old-fashioned it looked deliberate. And the mirror, she never moved it. Not once in all the years I can remember. The mirror stood in the corner of her bedroom, taller than it needed to be, framed in dark Victorian with that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. It wasn't ornate in a decorative way. The carvings were subtle, almost apologetic. Leaves, spirals, shapes that felt unfinished. As a child, I avoided looking into it. Not because it scared me, but because it made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't explain. Like someone standing too close without touching you. Once, when I was about 10, I asked her why she never replaced it. She told me very calmly, "It's not ours to replace." When I asked what that meant, she said, "It stays with whoever it's watching." I laughed it off then. I wish I hadn't. After her funeral, I went through her apartment alone. That was my choice. I wanted quiet, something controlled. Most of her things went into boxes. Clothes to donate, papers to sort, memories I didn't linger on too long. The mirror was different. Felt wrong to leave behind. When I lifted it, I was surprised by the weight. Not physically, emotionally, like I was disturbing something that had already settled. I considered selling it, even smashing it, but her voice stayed with me. You don't get rid of things that remember you. So I took it home. I placed it in my bedroom opposite the bed, leaning against the wall. The first month, nothing happened. That's important. No immediate dread. No strange dreams. No cold spots. It was just furniture. I almost forgot about it, which is probably why the first time it happened felt so wrong. It was after midnight. I'd been drinking, not heavily, just enough to blur the edges of grief. I passed the mirror on my way to bed and caught my reflection. I slowed, so did it, but not at the same time. The delay was slight, barely there, like a buffering video. I raised my hand. The reflection followed a fraction of a second later. I laughed because that's what you do when your brain offers you an explanation you want to believe. Alcohol, fatigue, shadows. I went to bed. The next morning, I stood in front of the mirror for nearly 10 minutes. Everything matched perfectly. No lag, no distortion. I felt embarrassed for letting myself imagine things. That should have been the end of it. Over the following weeks, the delay returned, but not consistently. It didn't happen when I tested it. It happened when I forgot I was looking, when I brushed past the mirror half distracted, when I glanced at myself without thinking, when I moved instinctively. That's when the reflection lagged, almost like it needed time to decide whether to follow. I stopped drinking entirely. I slept more. ate better, removed every reasonable excuse. The lag remained, then something else changed. Sometimes the reflection moved first. A blink, a swallow, a breath I hadn't taken yet. I told myself it was anticipation, my mind filling in gaps, until one night I turned away from the mirror and felt very clearly that I was being watched from behind. I looked back. My reflection hadn't turned with me. It was still facing forward, staring. I tried to move the mirror. I didn't announce it, didn't think about it too much. I turned it to face the wall before bed. In the morning, it was back. Same angle, same place. I moved it again, into the hallway, the spare room, even the storage closet. It always returned, not violently, not dramatically, just correctly, like it was correcting a mistake. I finally called my aunt. She listened quietly as I described the mirror. When I finished, she didn't ask questions. She just said, "Your mother lasted longer than most." I asked her what she meant. She said, "It doesn't stay with everyone forever, but it always stays with someone." I didn't push her. I was afraid of what she'd say if I did. The mirror started changing how I felt about myself. I catch my reflection doing things I didn't remember doing. Standing straighter, looking calmer, older, more settled. It looked like me but finished, like something that had already decided how this life would end. I started avoiding mirrors altogether, but you can't avoid being reflected. Windows, screens, dark glass. Sometimes I'd see myself twice, once as I was, once as I was becoming. The breaking point came when I woke up one night and saw my reflection standing beside the bed. Not stepping out, not crawling, just present. I blinked. It was gone. The mirror across the room showed me sleeping. I didn't go back to bed after that. I decided to destroy it. I didn't feel angry or scared, just tired, like someone finally accepting a task they'd been putting off for too long. I waited until dawn. I didn't want darkness involved anymore. I wrapped the mirror in a blanket, tied it down in the back of my car, and drove until there were no houses, no roads, no reason for anyone else to be nearby. The air was cold. Still, when I pulled the mirror out, the glass caught the early light and reflected the sky in pale fragments. For a moment, I hesitated. Not because I was afraid, but because it felt like I was being watched one last time. I shattered it with a rock. The sound was sharp, final. The glass broke too easily. It didn't resist. It didn't splinter the way I expected. It fell apart cleanly, almost willingly, the pieces reflecting pieces of me that didn't quite line up. I burned the frame until the wood cracked and curled in on itself. I stayed there longer than I needed to, until the fire went out, until there was nothing left that resembled a mirror. When I left, I didn't look back. The weeks that followed were quiet, normal. For the first time since my mother died, my apartment felt like mine again. I slept through the night. I stopped checking reflections. I stopped feeling that pressure in the room, that sense of being measured. I started to believe I'd won, that maybe destroying it had worked. I woke up one morning and knew something was wrong before I opened my eyes. The room felt complete, like something had been put back where it belonged. I opened my eyes. The mirror was standing in front of me, whole, clean, leaning against the wall exactly where it had always been. I didn't move, neither did my reflection. We just looked at each other, perfectly in sync.